Hi there, I am Adam Kivas, and this is our second episode where I talk about my work as an author, and this is still the beginning of a journey where I will eventually figure out whether podcasting or whether I see a future in podcasting. However, nevertheless, the last time I wanted to talk about why we are writing, I think I didn't quite finish it, or there are actually many reasons. There are actually many reasons why someone would write, or and one reason is of course that you have a story to tell. I mean, sure, everyone has a story to tell, and if you ask people, they will say the same. But I wanna talk about me because this podcast is as well as supposed to introduce me to people who read my stuff and wanna know more about me. Because on social media, I somehow, or people may not know anything about me. I mean, truth be told, my books, they don't sell that well. However, but I still have not given up the hope that that I can somehow reach some people for the sake of entertainment. However, like I said, I am from I'm of Turkish descent. My parents are from Turkey, and my father as well as my mother, they had only basic education. My father went only 5 years to school. They were not very wealthy. I mean, this 5 years to school, this was basics. Whereas my mother, she went only 4 years to school because she was a woman and so on. So they could barely read and write. Nevertheless, but so there was not much they could give me on the way with. Nevertheless, I mean, I'm very thankful for my parents. Like I said, they died in 2012, but they taught me many things about life, and I will always be grateful to them. I mean, it is of course my parents knew the world from their perspectives. I mean, they grew up in Turkey, in rural Turkey. They were farmers, and I mean, this is somehow how you understand and grasp the world. Then they had luck. This is what you have to call it, an opportunity with luck that they could come to Austria, work there as Gastarbeiter. This is a special term in Austrian Germany, which translated means guest workers. Gast is guest and Arbeiter is worker. So these foreigners from all over Eastern Europe, they never meant to stay for long, but yet, as we all know it, they stood longer. They built lives in Austria as well as in Germany, and uh, and nevertheless, this mentality, I mean, of Gastworker Arbeit, it is not only that the Austrian or the German state somehow had this secret idea. Yeah, well, in the end, we will eventually send those uh, foreigners, Gastarbeiter, back home. It is as well as the mentality. I mean, for those who might not know it, but the typical Gastarbeiter mentality was that your life in Austria was always momentarily. I mean, that you would somehow always seek that you came to Austria to earn money, and that you will eventually go back. This was the plan. This was not only the plan from the Austrian or German government. This is as well as how my parents thought. I mean, everything we would buy, if it is a new vacuum cleaner, we would use the new vacuum cleaner in Turkey and would use the old one in Austria and so on. So they always say, and we grew up with this, that one day that they would return to Turkey, and this is the reason why they invested so much in building a life in Turkey and not in Austria. And I mean, of course, there was some that they did not really think about the future of the children, because I was born, or we were born in Austria. We grew up with the Austrian culture. My mother tongue is German, and of course, if we go to Turkey, it somehow feels not really like home. I mean, you feel like a foreigner in Turkey as well. So for us migrants at the of the second or third generation who then grew up in Austria, it became some sort of an issue, or as well as a big issue, because in one on the on one hand, you are not a part of Austria. This is not something this is not an individual perception. I mean, everyone who knows a thing or two about Austria, especially rural Austria as well as Vienna, racism is racism is pretty much rampant, and people have as well as the knowledge that you are a foreigner. I mean it, and in Austria, things like skin color, as we would, they do not really matter that much. So it is a different kind of consideration, and in Austria, people genuinely think that you are different, then they meant that you are not part of the culture. I mean, I've been told many times that I'm not Austrian, not only in a negative sense. Everyone assumes that, yeah, that that I was somehow just a victim of racist slurs. Yes, but not at all. I was as well as talked to by very open-minded people who, for example, thought that because I'm from Turkey and that because my parents are Muslims, that I would be an expert in those two areas. Well, I'm not, but however, I mean, it was not all negative, but but in Austria you have this feeling, and this feeling, this is this will be transmitted to you, that you are foreign, that you are not part of the society, in a way, sometimes negatively, but sometimes as well as positively. I mean, if you only think about in Western Europe, where the love of your country is rather considered as negative, in America or whatever, where when you say you love America, people immediately associate this with far right extremism, with nationalism. So loving your country in Western Europe has some sort of a negative connotation, and this is the reason why people are more and more interested in foreign cultures and foreign religions, but I am not an expert, of course, in religious matters, nor in Turkish. I mean, I speak basic Turkish. I know how to ask for bare needs, but or how to get by, but this is far away from my sophisticated language use in German. But however, as a Turkish migrant, you are somehow, in a way, guest in both worlds, because here in Turkey, I mean, no matter what people say, but in Turkey, you are being considered as a foreigner as well. They say to you, "Ah, you are a European, that you grow up that differently, and that life would be easier in Europe whatsoever." However, this of course creates some. This of course contributes how you see the world. I mean, my thinking, my my thinking and writing, of course, is always in a perspective where I always uh, look in two worlds, because in one way it is easier for me to observe the Austrian culture as well as the Turkish culture, because you are always some sort of the periphery of it. You are outside the center, and in a sociological term, it's easier to observe something, or observe a group if you are outside the group. But of course, you being being a part of the group will help you to understand uh, micro mechanism as well. However, this is why me and my parents, like I said, they could barely read and write. So, but nevertheless, my father was somehow different. I mean, my father, I mean, he did not write much. I mean, the only thing I read parts of it, or something of my father, was diary entries, because he would used to write diaries. This is because my father, excuse me, my father had a car accident in his youth. Not in his youth, but when he was already married with my mother, and when we were born, he had a car accident. And this was he narrowly escaped death later. I mean, later, he and my mother would not be so fortunate. However, and there I read some diary entries. But this was about his illnesses and so on. This was really somehow surprising for me. I mean, I did not have. You have to be aware. You have to think about the fact that when I went to school, and of course, some Austrian students. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, you are around them, and then I I then heard that, and many of these pupils in school, when I was in primary school, secondary school, and they would all talk about that their parents would help them and so on. I mean, we did not have that, and we did not have that. I mean, our parents, they had their own issues. Uh, they had to struggle themselves, and so somehow some distance grew to our parents. I mean, we always thought that they are not very smart and so on, and it somehow you could never really ask them something, because they did not know, and you somehow thought, maybe they went in school to Turkey, they don't know much. And when I first read this diary of my father, it was not a complete diary, it was only a couple of pages. I mean, it was really something you could grab in a way. I mean, my father worked his entire life. I mean, he was doing a lot of overtime. I mean, he was an assembly worker in a sawmill, so we never saw him during the week, only on the weekends. And of course, he was somehow some sort of this stranger who was not much at home, so he was rather absent. And then when I read these diary entries, even though if it was about this accident he narrowly survived, it was somehow, yeah, it helped me to, in a way, because mm, it was different, and writing was something I I actually started in my youth, but it was rather I was influenced by movies, by